One of the biggest culinary ironies out there is that people think a vegan diet is more expensive, not realizing that if you do it right, it can actually be much cheaper. How can that be? With items like Beyond Meat pricing out even conventional beef, that seems impossible, right? Well, it's because people are looking in the wrong section of the supermarket. And in this video, I'll show y'all 5 simple vegan swaps you can make to bring your grocery bill to half. This first one is a great way to replace an everyday US staple, and that's ground beef. People like ground beef because it's cheap, convenient, and an easy way to get protein in. And that's one of the biggest problems with something like Beyond Meat. It's way too expensive. But what if I told you there's a little known food that completely solves that problem and makes regular beef look as expensive as Beyond Meat in comparison? Not to mention, this option is completely vegan, meaning it has no cholesterol. Look no further than an item called textured vegetable protein, or TVP for short. It's a food product produced by separating soy protein from the other elements found in soybeans, which is why 50% of its calories come from protein. To eat it, you need to rehydrate it, and it absorbs flavors beautifully. And once it does, it's pretty much indistinguishable from ground beef, so it goes perfect in chilies, bologneses, burritos, or anywhere you would normally use ground beef. So good. In terms of gram for gram of protein, TVP comes in at about 40% cheaper than even your run-of-the-mill non-organic ground beef. Now, that is a cheap way to keep your protein up while slashing both your bill and your cholesterol intake. Now, canned tuna has a reputation for being one of the cheapest and healthiest ways to get protein, which is insane because have you seen our oceans? Anyways, there's a much cheaper and healthier way to get the taste of tuna, but also many of the benefits that tuna offers without the cholesterol and the mercury. The trick is to use chickpeas, and it's really simple. You just take a can of chickpeas and mash them. Then you use them the way you'd use tuna. For example, mix it with some vegan mayo and lemon, and now you've got a cheaper way to make a vegan tuna salad sandwich, for example. And in terms of what you're paying per gram of food, you'll save around 75% when you choose canned chickpeas over canned tuna. Not to mention, chickpeas have a lot of nutrients that tuna offers, like protein and iron, but it also has a hugely important nutrient that most people in the US are deficient in: fiber, which might be why the USDA has called the low intake of dietary fiber in the US a public health concern. But that isn't gonna be you if you swap in these chickpeas. 1 can of these bad boys has more fiber than the average person in the US gets in a day. But I will admit there's one nutrient that is missing, and that's omega-3. But here's the thing, there's also another cheaper swap to get your omega-3 in. Now, omega-3 is a key nutrient people think is only found in fish, but that's not true. And the plant form is much cheaper and also comes with a whole host of other health benefits, like fiber. And what most people don't realize is that most of the fat found in fish isn't even omega-3. In salmon, for example, around 70 to 80% of that fat is not good for us. So a cheaper, healthier alternative? Sign me up. What you should look for is flaxseed. Specifically, you want to be consuming ground flaxseed. It's literally 96% cheaper to get your omega-3 that way than getting it from salmon. And it's got some protein too. So what's the catch? There's got to be a catch. No, there is no catch. I'm telling you, you don't have to eat fish. Have you not been paying attention? No, but seriously, you might not know that the omega-3 from plants and animals is not exactly the same, but our bodies can convert the plant one to the one found in fish. But the conversion cannot be the best, so what? Am I selling you a shitty knockoff omega-3? Well, despite vegans being more likely to have lower levels of the animal-based omega-3, it doesn't really seem to matter. And actually, researchers note the advantage of a vegan diet for heart health compared with a non-vegan diet. And you can always just eat more flax. I mean, come on, 96% cheaper? You can afford it. Alright, so the other day I was talking to my friend, and she was telling me she'd love to go vegan, but she just can't give up chicken. You know how often I hear that? The biggest irony is that, dude, chicken is the easiest thing to swap vegan-wise. And the vegan version is cheaper, it's healthier for you, and it even has more protein. Gasp. And another thing is that one thing people get so wrong about chicken is that they think it's any better for your cholesterol than red meat. But there's evidence out there to suggest that it's just as bad. But anyways, y'all aren't here to clear your arteries. You're here to fatten up your wallet, so let's get into the cheaper alternative. All right, all y'all gotta do is look for Vital Wheat Gluten online. You'll notice by protein, it's actually about 30% cheaper than chicken, and it's the key ingredient for something called Seitan. And there are thousands of online recipes to make it that take 5 minutes of actual work. And voila, you get something with a very meaty texture that's completely cholesterol free and has even more protein than chicken by calorie. Pretty crazy. Who else misses a nice Sunday omelet? Me too. Well, it turns out that vegans, we can have our own version of an omelet that's even cheaper than eggs, and without the brutal amounts of cholesterol. You might not know this, but one average size egg has more than double the cholesterol of a Big Mac. So how do you get your hands on this delicious omelet that's filling, cheap, and won't leave your kitchen counter covered in salmonella? Well, the trick, my friends, is chickpeas again. But there's a twist. And not Oliver. Sorry, that's bad. It's not chickpeas from a can. Those won't work for this. You need chickpea flour. But unfortunately, those bastards over there are charging way too much for chickpea flour. But here's the thing. If you just buy dry chickpeas yourself and throw them into a food processor, or if you're brave, into your blender, you'll get your own chickpea flour that you can work with. Gram for gram of protein, it'll be up to 50% cheaper. And once you got your flour, you can mix in your spices and water for your batter. There are tons of online recipes, and you can make it extra eggy with kala namak or black salt. Now, these tips are great for saving money, but if you pay attention, you'll realize just how cheap in general cooking meat-free can be. So, in this video, I'll show you how to save even more money with these 3 protein-packed vegan recipes, all with just 3 ingredients.